Hey guys, Carolyn here. Another episode on Think and Grow Rich, right? And so we're going to cover the next step, which is probably the most fascinating to me. The next step in how to think and grow rich, right? And so this chapter is about imagination, the workshop of the mind. And this is a completely fascinating idea to me. Um, it has been said we can create anything we imagine, right? And if you just take a look around wherever you're sitting and look at anything and realize everything you look at started out as somebody's idea, that something somebody imagined, from pens to paper to the chairs, anything anything you can look at started out in somebody's imagination. It just floors me every time I think about it, right? Because there's so many different things out there. I thought about it the other day when I was walking through an antique store, and some people had some crazy ideas, but it all started out, everything has started out as somebody's idea in their imagination, right? It just kind of just amazing to me. And so once you can imagine something, once you can put something in your mind works on ways to make it happen, right? Um, it's a well-known fact that all high-level athletes, or most of them, take the time, especially before they're getting ready to do, any kind of performance or anything like that, and visualize what winning looks like. Like, closing their eyes, imagine walking into the stadium, what it feels like, what the sounds, the smells are, and see themselves performing at the highest that they can, and reaching that goal that they're going for, and walking them, their mind through that process. Because your brain can't tell the difference between something that's actually happening and something that's imagined, right? So if you've imagined it, it's familiar, your brain will figure out how to get you there. And so visualization is a huge part of success, right? And so it's not just imagining, it's really visualizing. And so how does this idea of imagination matter to business owners, right? And I think from my experience, a lot of being a business owner is creative solutions, right? Solutions to problems and issues that arise, and being creative in how you resolve those. And I think a lot of that happens through imagination. But every business coach I've ever talked to, anybody who's guiding somebody through their business, they all have the same thing. And, I've had several people on the podcast. They always say the first step is have a clear vision of where you're going. What does winning look like to you? Right? Like is it is it a bottom line? Is it a gross revenue goal, right? If you're if your goal is to have $2 million in gross revenue and at least $100,000 on the bottom line, have that very specific goal, right? And then visualize what it looks like when you get there, right? So close your eyes and imagine looking at your P&L at the end of the year and seeing those numbers. What does that feel like? What does that look like? How does that make you feel, right? The most thing is to bring emotion to it. And once you start visualizing that on a consistent basis, like taking the time to really think about where you're headed, what it will look like when you get there, your mind will throw in and give you the ideas and tools that you need to get there, right? I've had some great examples recently in my own work, right? So I own the Chromians Law Firm. I have since 2006, and um, really started focusing on where I want to take the business in 2019. And I've realized, we have substantial services that help a lot of people, the people who get shit done in the construction industry that don't always have the legal representation they need easily available to them, right? And so how can I help more people? And so one of my big goals is to take my firm nationwide to help everybody out there. And I've been, have this goal, I set as a goal, and visualizing exactly what it looks like has been very difficult for me because that's a huge goal. It's overwhelming, right? And so my first thought was, oh, I'll just go get licensed as an attorney in all 50 states. Well, turns out that's a huge pain in the ass, right? And I had a whole team working on it. It became entirely too expensive, time consuming. Nobody knew what they were doing. And so that didn't work. that's not to say I'm still not working on that project. I'm working it in a different way. So right now I'm currently, let's see if I can remember all the states. I'm licensed in Texas, Georgia, Wyoming, Pennsylvania, Colorado, almost Kentucky, and almost Iowa. Right. I think that's all of them. And so I'm just kind of working on that project because I do think that's my first foot in the door to talk to people who are in those states, right? Let them know that I am licensed there. I can represent them there. And so that was my first idea. And, I have to understand this, all of this, I've been thinking about this goal over and over. What does it look like? I know where I want to go. And my mind will just pop up with ideas. And so at first I thought, okay, well, I need to own a building in all 50 states where I'm going to have my law firm. And that was overwhelming, right? That's a huge thing to get done, a huge process. And I was talking to somebody about this goal, and they're like, no, you don't. You don't have to have an office and all. You don't have to have a physical office that you own in all 50 states. You can have smaller offices that you lease. Like, you can lease an office in one state and open it up a state at a time. I'm like, huh, guess I can do that. I mean, I can lease a space for a couple $100 a month and open up an office there. I was like, oh, I can do that. But I can't be in 50 states all at once, right? No. So my brain, and this is happening over the course of years, right? Like I said, I started on this, I probably had this idea in 21, 22. How am I going to do this? And so then more ideas started. So, the ideas of, okay, well, you can acquire firms that are already in that state and their people and their processes and all of that. And I'm like, there's a real big problem with that. I run my firm a certain way. I, guarantee great customer service. I don't know if I can make people do that if that's not what they're already doing. And so then I'm like, okay, well, how do I do this? And so then I thought about it some more. And I can actually take attorneys that work with me that are licensed in other states, and they can be in charge of their own offices, and they can make a share of the profits on that office. And so this thing has evolved from something that is this huge, unattainable idea, right, to smaller steps that I can handle, right? And it all comes about thinking about it, imagining what it would look like, and then the steps to get there come into your mind. But the first thing is obviously to be focused on what you want, right? Be extremely clear about and it could be a short-term goal. It could be a huge goal like mine going nationwide. It could be a monthly goal. Whatever it is, just focus on it. What you focus on, you'll create, right? And having a positive mindset about how you'll figure it out, right? And there's always going to be issues, and there's going to be things you try that don't work out, and that's okay, because it tells you, hey, that's one way that doesn't work out. Like Edison had 10,000 tries at the light bulb, but every time he knew that, at least I know that it's not the way to do it, right? So even if it's not a huge success or if it fails, it will give you feedback on what's not going to work so you can figure out what can work, right? And being flexible and open to ideas that you might not have thought of before, right? And ideas that pop in your head and imagining what those would look like and trusting your intuition. That's another thing I think business owners don't realize that they do a lot. And it's essential to their business, right? And so having a clear goal of where you're headed, visualizing it, taking the time each day to visualize what winning looks like, what it would feel like. And then the mind will give you ideas on how to get there. I promise you. I know it sounds crazy, but this is truly something that happens. Look at all the example. Everything you see was somebody's idea that they made happen, right? Whatever it is, it was somebody's idea that they made happen. So we know it can be done, right? So just focus on it, be clear, visualize it, and when you get those ideas, consider them, play them out, see what'll work, see what won't work. And sometimes, like I said, not every idea is going to be the winner of the way, but it will tell you what's not the way so that you can figure out what is, right? And I think this is a huge part of being a business owner. And don't get me wrong, as you're the business owner, you're leading your team based on the vision that you have, right? This is where we're going. This is how we're going to get there. And it may change, but being flexible with those changes, right? I think that's probably one of the best things about being a leader is saying, hey guys, this didn't work out, but we're going to try something else, right? I don't have all the answers, but we're going to try and we're going to figure it out. So just my thoughts on visualization, knowing where you're going. I think I think, Think and Grow Rich is a huge asset. We're talking about the founders of industry that were interviewed and talked to about how they had their success. So these are not just throwaway ideas. These are proven ideas over centuries that have worked and built empires. So just something to think about, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.